How is everyone today? Well, today I'm going to talk about how do grant reviewers review your grants, or what do grant reviewers look for in your grant application. In the earlier session yesterday, I spoke about how you should prepare for a research grant. In today's session, I'm going to be on the other side of the fence and I'll be telling you what is it that reviewers or grant examiners look for in your grant proposal. So let's get started. If you have not seen some of my other sessions on industry related research, do check them out. They are very informative and very detailed. And it includes a lot of experience that I have had working with industry and securing industry funding and doing industry based research. So do check out these videos. They are all on my social media channel. They're all on my YouTube channel as well. So do check that and follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. All right, let's get started with today's session. Today, I'm going to talk about what do grant reviewers look for in your grant application. So the first thing that they're looking for is alignment with the grant's objectives. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is, if the grant has been advertised or announced for a specific purpose, then they are going to see how closely does your grant application or your research proposal aligns with what they are looking for. And that alignment is very important in terms of the assessment process, because the reviewers are going to provide their comment, their feedback on your application. And while they're reviewing your application, they're going to check all these criteria, right? So if there are 5 things that a grant should have, and how close does your grant application align with those 5 criterions. Whenever a grant application or a call for a grant is announced, this thing is there, this thing is mentioned there. So it is very important to review the grant application guidelines thoroughly, so that when you are writing your research proposal, you try to cover all these aspects. Okay. I have seen on a lot of occasions, academics or researchers are very fascinated about their own research, so much that they fail to, or that they do not put too much attention or to look at what the grant actually wants. They want to put their research proposal, this is what they want to do. But the grant may have a different expectation. They may want some other things to be done. So as a researcher, when you are submitting or preparing your application for a grant, do look for that matching. Try to map your research as close to what the grant is looking for. So this is very important. It has to align with their priorities and their goals. Another thing to look at is how your proposal contributes to their mission or to their strategic direction. The reason why a company or a funding agency has proposed or has announced a new grant is because they want some research to be done, right? And once that has been clearly articulated in the call for the grant, in the announcement, the first step you have to do, even before starting to write the proposal, is to pick up all these items. Yeah. And then for each item that is listed in the call, think about what is it that you can do so that it aligns with that. And secondly, what prior experience do you have so that you can make the reviewers believe or comfortable that you are capable of doing what you are saying you are going to do in the grant. So these are the two different things to remember, right? Once again, if this is what is being listed in the grant application in the call, you can say, we will do this, and back up this claim that you will do this because you have this experience or you have done this in the past, which aligns with this. So you are not only proving that you can do what you're going to do, what you're saying you're going to do, but you have the right experience or the right team to work with you to get that thing done. Yeah, so that has to be clearly conveyed in your application. The second point is significance and impact, and this has to come out very, very clearly in your application. So you have to show the potential contribution of what you're going to contribute to the existing knowledge base and how it is going to benefit the society, right? So significance and impact can be demonstrated using some existing statistics, or if the significance of this research has been published in the literature already, you can refer or you can cite that work saying that so and so paper mentioned this to be the most significant research. This, it could be the chief scientist of your country mentioning that this is a very important research direction that needs to be sorted, to be addressed, and if it is done, this will have a major impact on the society, on the environment, on our economy, and so on. So convey that at the very beginning. And when I write a research proposal, I put some punchy, very catchy phrases or sentences to begin my research proposal. So I know that reviewers are at least going to read that first paragraph or so. I don't know whether they will read the whole thing or not. They may just skip, but I know at least they will read the first bit. They may glance over the methodology. They may see who the team is, what benefit is it is going to bring to the society. So these specific aspects you need to be able to articulate very nicely. Maybe make it bold, make it underline, or put that in a separate paragraph. Do something so that it is easy to be picked up by reviewers. So it is easier. You are making their job easy by doing this. Okay. So keep that in mind, and always back up the significance and impact through some credible source, right? So if, like I said earlier, if chief scientist says such and such thing is important, cite that. If one of the topmost journal in your discipline mentions that, cite that. Use that a credible source to as a foundation for your proposal, so that then reviewers say, okay, if this person has said this, this is what we have to take it at face value. Consider broader impacts, including those on policy or public engagement. So I already mentioned significance and impact. Impact can be across various, dimensions. Like here, I talk about policy or public engagement. It could be impact on the society, the economy, the environment, the community. So whatever is the impact, it has to be spelled out very clearly. See, research is one part. That is what you are going to do, but there are a lot of other things surrounding that which make that research stand out. And this significance, impact, all these things, innovation, this is what makes your research proposal special. So that has to be visible to the examiners when they are reviewing it. There you go. Next point is innovation. You have to showcase. That was my phone listening to me while I'm doing the presentation, and it started to give me some suggestions about innovation. See, you have to be very careful with your phones when you never know what they were doing. So that was the sound that you heard just then. Anyway, back to our topic. So innovation is very important. You have to showcase innovative methods or strategies that you have applied in your grant proposal. And this, if the reviewer is able to grasp that innovation that you are doing, then you're going to get a good outcome from that. You can show your creativity in solving traditional problems in an innovative way. That is another thing you can keep in mind, that if your solution is going to sound just like any other approach or any other solution, it will not stand out. So what is it that you can do to make your research stand out is going to be very important, and that has to be that has to be understood by the reviewer. So keep that in mind. The fourth point is feasibility. See, you can say you can do a lot of things in your grant proposal. Is that really possible? Is that really feasible? Do you have the right team? Do you have enough budget to do what you are saying you will do? So doing a feasibility analysis of your proposal is very important, and if you can document that in your proposal, then it adds more value to make sure that your proposal is convincing. You have to have realistic timelines, reasonable milestones, a proper and a strong team, and a proper alignment of the research objectives with the team's capabilities. If you can showcase that nicely and convincingly to the reviewers, you have a very good chance of getting your grant approved. What you can also do from a feasibility point of view is to include risk assessment and contingency plans. What happens if something goes wrong? Have you thought about it? And many grant applications would ask you for risk management plan, and they will ask you to identify potential risks for this grant or for this application, and what would be your risk mitigation strategies to cater to if those risks emerge. So you have to show that you have given thought of what all things can go wrong, and if they do go wrong, what are you going to do, right? So that is a very important feasibility aspect that you need to cover in your proposal. And sometimes this can be a separate document. It may not be part of the research proposal. Research proposal is one thing, but they may ask you to attach a separate risk management document or risk plan along with your submission. Another thing is contingency plan. So if something that you have planned doesn't go as per plan, or something suddenly is unavailable that you thought that you wanted to do during your research, then what are you going to do? So you have to have that also taken care for or covered in your proposal. All right, next thing is very important is the credibility. What is the applicant's qualifications? Why are the people there in the grant application? So if you can say clearly, convincingly that this is the right team to solve this research challenge, and this is because person A, person B, person C has these, they bring in this expertise, they bring in these skills which are necessary to make the project successful. So everyone who is in the team, they have to be there for a reason, and then that reason has to be clearly articulated and explained so that the reviewers can understand and follow that, yeah, this is a good team, they have to be there, and this aligns with the project needs, and so this team is good. And then they what needs to be conveyed here is that this team is capable to deliver what they are saying they are going to deliver. And you have to write it in a way that this is a team, everyone had specific experience that they are bringing to this proposal, and not only that, they have done some other work in the past, maybe a grant, maybe a publication, maybe a PhD supervision, that gives them that experience to do that again. Yeah, so that is important. Show evidence of project management and leadership ability. So something similar to what I just now mentioned. If you in the team, if there are some chief investigators, so they are going to lead the research. Typically in large research grants, we have multiple CIs or chief investigators. So they will probably, the first investigator will look at one aspect of the project, second one will look at the second aspect, third one will be looking at the third aspect. Or sometimes what we do is, if the first pillar of research, I guess, if you can call it, is big enough, we can have multiple CIs working on one particular project, one particular aspect of research, and then a few others on other. So that combination is going to show that the team is capable to lead or project manage the whole thing. Sometimes it is also a good practice to engage a project manager to lead or to coordinate or liaise with all the chief investigators. So this project manager need not be an academic, but somebody who is experienced in managing projects. So that person is going to be responsible for coordinating and making sure that all the other researchers are contributing to the research project. The next point is collaboration and support. So if you have a collaborating team, an organization or multiple parties who are involved in the research, then your collaboration and the institutional support that you're getting for this research has to be evident from the research proposal, so that when the reviewers are looking at this aspect, it should be clear that this team has the right setup, the institutional support to make it happen. This could also include letters of support from involved institutions. So if there are 4 or 5 institutions or universities coming together to put in for a large grant, every university should commit that we are going to allocate X amount of dollars for this project if this project is successful, or we will allocate in-kind contribution, that is, we will put in 2 of our professors to work on this, or we will provide this infrastructure for this when this grant is successful, and so on. So that collaboration and support should be evident, and it should convey that everyone that is involved in this grant has a say and they are really committed to this project. Next is sustainability and continuation. You can mention how you are going to outline the plans for research dissemination and outreach. And this is also a standard section that most granting bodies or funding agencies would have in their application. You have to show that once you have done the research, how is that research going to be disseminated or distributed? Who are going to benefit from this research? How are you going to connect with them? How are you going to reach out to them? How will they benefit from this research? So typically what we do is we would say we will publish the findings in a journal article. We will organize events, and if one of the output or outcome from the project is to do a industry report, then you could say that we will launch the industry report at an event, and we will invite all key stakeholders or business leaders that will be benefit from this research. That could be another way of disseminating your results. You could say we would organize or we would engage conduct focus groups, and we will either distribute this knowledge or we could engage them during the research. So there are various different ways in which you can promote. You can also do media. You can say we would do a press release on once the research is done, and we will engage with TV, on radio, on to newspapers. We will write articles for research-based websites, and so on. So all this thing has to be documented clearly and convincingly. You can also mention how you are going to secure additional funding for future. So what happens is you may get, say, set amount of funding, right, for conducting this research. Once that funding finishes, how are you going to take that research forward? So sustainability becomes an important point here. How you are going to self-sustain, or how is the project going to self-sustain? You have to outline that. It could be that you could generate some intellectual property through this research, and you would license that IP, and that will generate revenue which will continue the project. Or you could say we could do some consultancy based upon the model that we developed, and we will work with different industries, and that consulting income will be something that could sustain the project going forward. So you have to also articulate the future of the project. It is not only that you get the funding and you do the project, but what happens after that, because a lot of people would be engaged and their livelihood will depend upon this kind of projects. So it could be either PhD scholars, it could be postdocs, it could be maybe software developers, project managers, who are all part of this project. What happens if the project after the project finishes? So you have to convey that you have this thing planned. You could say, once we finish this grant, or 1 year prior to that, we may reapply for another funding. Or we, like I mentioned, you could apply, license your IP that is generated from the project, and so on. So that also has to be given a thought in this proposal, even though you have not even secured the grant. See, we are talking about a stage where you are applying for a grant, but all these considerations have to be there. It has to be carefully thought of well in advance. And finally, ethical considerations. Whenever you're doing research, I already mentioned in my earlier videos as well, that you need to have ethical clearance for conducting research. And if it is a existing research that is being done, you may already have ethics approval within your university. But if it is a new project that you're going to start, and if it involves academics from different universities, what you would say is that when the grant is successful and we start working on the grant, that ethics will be, we will apply for ethics for that specific project. And that it has to be clear, it has to be shown that you understand that this is important step of your proposal, and then you have to have a section that covers that. If you have already applied for ethics, you can include the necessary approvals that you have, or the permits that you have received. You can also say that for the previous project that we did, which forms the foundation for this project that we have in this proposal, these were the ethical approvals that we have in place. So all these things are important to ensure that when reviewers are evaluating your proposal, they have all the information that they need to make an informed judgment. And not only information, they should also feel confident that you are capable of doing this research. You or your team are capable of doing this research, and the funding that you are going to receive is worth the investment for the funding agency. So the return on investment for the funding agency is going to be positive, is going to be good. So that kind of information has to be should be possible to be easily available from your proposal, so that the reviewers can make that informed judgment and you are successful in receiving the grant. Okay, so that is all for today's session. Next day, tomorrow, I'm going to talk about the different types of research grants that you can apply, and how these different grants are designed to cater different aspects of research. So look forward to you all to joining the session again tomorrow, and have a good day for today. All right, take care. Bye.